3 years ago, I accepted a seasonal job inspecting remote Forest Service roads in eastern Oregon. Most people imagine that job is dangerous because of bears or mountain lions. It isn't. Wild animals usually want nothing to do with you. What you should be afraid of are the things that know exactly when you're alone. For almost 2 months, nothing unusual happened. Then one afternoon, I found a pickup truck abandoned in the middle of Road 12. The engine was still running. The driver's door was open. Whoever had been driving couldn't have been gone for more than a few minutes. The strange part wasn't that the truck had been abandoned. The strange part was no footprints led away from it. I had worked for the Forest Service before, so the isolation never bothered me. Every morning I'd leave the ranger station around 7, load my tools into a government pickup, and spend the day checking roads damaged by storms, clearing fallen trees, replacing signs, and documenting anything unusual. Most roads were rarely used. Some hadn't seen another vehicle in weeks. Road 12 was different. It stretched almost 40 miles through dense pine forest before ending at an abandoned fire access gate that had been locked since the early 1990s. The older rangers hated driving that road. Whenever I asked why, they'd shrug and say the same thing. It just feels wrong. I figured they were trying to mess with the new guy. For nearly 6 weeks, nothing happened. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, I rounded a bend and saw the truck. A dark blue Ford parked sideways across the gravel road. Its headlights were still on. The engine idled quietly. I assumed someone had hit a deer or blown a tire. When I got closer, neither was true. The truck was perfectly fine. The driver's door hung open. A half-finished bottle of water sat in the cup holder. A sandwich rested on the passenger seat. The keys were still in the ignition. It looked like someone had simply stepped out for a moment. I called out, "Forest Service? If anyone's here, let me know." Only the wind answered. I searched around the truck. The ground was soft from rain the night before. My own boot prints sank several inches into the mud. But around the truck, there was nothing. No footprints, no drag marks, no tire tracks except the truck's. It looked impossible. Someone had driven there, but nobody had gotten out. I radioed the ranger station. Dispatch contacted the county sheriff. While I waited, I kept looking around. The forest was unusually quiet. No birds, no insects, not even wind moving through the trees. Then I heard it, someone calling my name. "Michael." It came from deep in the woods. Barely louder than a whisper, I spun around. Nothing. The voice came again, closer this time. "Michael." I knew immediately something wasn't right. Nobody at work called me Michael. Everyone called me Mike. Only my mother ever used my full name. And she'd passed away almost 4 years earlier. I convinced myself I was imagining things. The sheriff arrived about 30 minutes later. Together we searched nearly a mile in every direction. Nothing. No missing driver, no footprints, nothing. The truck was eventually towed away. I forgot about it, or at least I tried to. 2 weeks later, another vehicle appeared. This time it was an SUV, again, still running again. Driver's door open. Again. No footprints. The sheriff wasn't amused anymore. He started treating it as a missing persons case. Search teams combed the surrounding forest for 3 days. Dogs lost the scent almost immediately. Drones found nothing. Helicopters found nothing. The missing driver was never identified. There were no fingerprints inside the vehicle except the registered owners. No signs of a struggle, no blood, nothing. After that, nobody wanted to patrol Road 12 alone. But staffing shortages left me with little choice. One cloudy afternoon, I stopped to remove a fallen branch blocking the road. As I dragged it aside, I noticed something nailed to a nearby tree. An old wooden sign. The paint had almost completely faded. Only a few words remained. Road closed. Below that, someone had carved another sentence into the wood. Not painted. Carved. Don't follow the voices. I reported the sign. The supervisor laughed. There aren't any signs out there. I drove back after work to photograph it. The tree was still there. The sign wasn't. Only 4 fresh nail holes remained in the bark. The following Monday, I met one of the retired rangers who had worked those roads back in the 80s. When I casually mentioned Road 12, his smile disappeared. He asked me one question. Have they started calling your name yet? I felt a chill run down my spine. I hadn't told anyone about the voice. I asked him what he meant. He stared into his coffee for several seconds before answering. That road doesn't imitate strangers. It imitates people you've lost. Before I could ask another question, he stood up and walked away. A few days later, heavy rain washed out part of the road. I spent the afternoon placing barricades and warning signs. By the time I finished, the sun was already setting. I was about to leave when I heard it again. Michael, this time, it sounded exactly like my mother. Not similar, exactly. The same gentle voice, the same calm tone. It came from somewhere beyond the trees. Then I heard something else. Crying. Soft, like someone trying not to be heard. I stood frozen beside my truck. Every instinct told me to leave. Instead, I took one step toward the forest, then another. The crying stopped. Complete silence returned, just as I reached the tree line. My work radio exploded with static. A voice I barely recognized shouted through the speaker. "Mike, get back to the road." I turned around. My supervisor's truck had somehow pulled up behind mine. His face was completely pale. He jumped out and grabbed my arm. "What are you doing?" I looked back toward the trees. The forest was empty. I heard someone. He shook his head. "No, you didn't." Then he quietly added, "I heard my wife." His wife had died of cancer 11 years earlier. My supervisor refused to explain what he meant until we were safely back at the ranger station. After everyone else had gone home, he unlocked an old filing cabinet and pulled out a thin folder marked Road 12. Inside were reports dating back almost 40 years. Every report described the same thing. abandoned vehicles, engines still running, doors left open, no footprints. No missing person was ever found. Then he showed me something that made my stomach turn. Each missing driver had written in their last radio log that they had heard someone calling their name. Not a stranger, someone they loved, a wife, a father, a brother, a child. Every single one had stepped into the woods. None of them ever came back. The Forest Service officially blamed animal attacks and exposure. Unofficially, they closed the old hiking trails that crossed Road 12. The next morning, I asked to be transferred. My request was denied. There was nobody else available to patrol the road. 3 days later, I returned. I promised myself I wouldn't stop for anything. About 20 miles in, I saw another vehicle. This one was different. It was an old Forest Service pickup, covered in moss, rusted almost beyond recognition. It looked like it had been sitting there for decades. The driver's door was open. Curiosity got the better of me. Inside the truck was an old ranger's notebook. The final page contained one sentence. If you hear your name, don't answer. The moment I finished reading it, I heard my mother again. Michael, I'm cold. This time, the voice came from only a few feet inside the trees. Without thinking, I looked up. A woman stood between the pines. She wore my mother's blue jacket. Her face was hidden. She slowly lifted one hand, as if asking me to come with her. Then another voice shouted behind me, "Mike!" It was my supervisor. He had followed me without telling me. The figure instantly disappeared. My supervisor grabbed the notebook from my hands and threw it back into the truck. Leave it. We drove away without saying another word. The following week, the Forest Service permanently closed Road 12. Concrete barriers now block both entrances. Officially, it's because of unstable terrain. I know that's a lie. Last winter, curiosity got the better of me. I opened satellite maps online. Road 12 was still visible. So was the abandoned ranger truck. I zoomed in. Standing beside it was a man in a Forest Service uniform. He was looking directly up at the satellite camera, even from that height. I recognized him. It was me. Only, he looked about 20 years older. I closed my laptop and never opened that map again. Sometimes, late at night, my phone rings from an unknown number. When I answer, I hear nothing but wind. Then my mother's voice quietly says, "Michael, I'm still waiting." I never stay on the line long enough to hear what comes next.